Graduands and guests, please take your seats and make yourselves very comfortable in our beautiful Butterworth Hall today. My name's Piers Gibbon, and as your Master of Ceremonies, my role here today is to keep our degree ceremony running on time and briskly forward, and with, we hope, the right balance between a modicum of formal academic solemnity and a huge amount of wild, exuberant celebration, because every single one of our graduates here today deserves that same level of wild, exuberant graduation. And in order to provide that, we want everybody here in the extended University of Warwick family to feel very relaxed and at home. So if at any point you need to step outside for a cool glass of water or for any other reason, please feel free to do so. You can exit via the emergency exits, which are behind you to your right and to your left, and then step in when you're ready to do so at any time. But if you're here with babies in arms or small children, and they start making a noise, please don't feel the need to hustle them out of the emergency exits, because here at the University of Warwick, we actually like the noise of young people. Also, because we have a tradition, which is if your child makes a noise during a degree ceremony, then we have the legal right to get them back here to give them a real degree in about 19 years' time. So if any of your family start making a noise or having a tantrum, relax, there's no problem at all. Maybe just open a new high-interest savings account to pay for their University of Warwick education. Now, you see on the stage today all of your professors and doctors and all of the wonderful academic staff who have got you where you are today. But there is only one person on the stage today who has the power vested in them by the University of Warwick Senate to award your degrees. So I suggest it would be an excellent idea to give a huge round of applause and enthusiastic welcome to the Vice-Chancellor and President, Professor Stuart Croft.
Thank you and welcome. Welcome to this ceremony. It's wonderful to see you all here, but of course, in particular, those sitting in the middle of our hall, dressed in your finery. For those of you who are graduating today, I would like to thank you. You're all brilliant people. You had many choices of university, and you chose to come to be with us and to be part of our community. Thank you for that choice. And this celebration that we are marking today, we all want to feel a part of it. We all want to feel a part of it in full voice, to really cheer your achievement, because this is not just an event, but it is an accomplishment that marks years of hard work and resilience and determination. So, let's have a proper warm-up with a fantastic round of applause for our graduates! Now this ceremony comes in the middle of a very special year for this university, because it is our 60th anniversary. From small and humble beginnings to the moment now where we are a highly regarded university both nationally and internationally. In our first cohort in 1965 there were 450 students. Today we have over 35,000 registered on courses that are delivered both on campus and off campus, are both undergraduate and postgraduate, are sometimes highly industry focused and sometimes fully online. We have the highest ranking for the Teaching Excellence Framework, for the Research Excellence Framework, and in the Knowledge Excellence Framework for public engagement and also for business collaboration. Just over a week ago, we were awarded the title National University of the Year for Social Mobility. That is the calibre of the institution of which you will soon be an alumni. And now as you look to the future, the next stage in your lives, beyond the degree course in which you've been working, I wonder if I might just try and share some thoughts with you about some of the behaviours that you might have displayed yourself or you might have seen in others, and thinking about these might just perhaps help you a little in the next stage of your life. So firstly, can I encourage you always to strive to think freely? Perhaps you identify that the status quo is not the best that we can achieve. If so, then challenge, respectfully of course, and share new and different thoughts. Please try to think about this question: how might we do better? Secondly, can I encourage you to try to thrive on difference? We all have a tendency to stay with those we know, with those perhaps who think like us. Seek out difference of experience and thought. Engage and learn. Please try to think about this question: how might we all live more easily together? Thirdly, can I encourage you to focus on creating connections? Not just connections for yourself, but in your ability to bring others together on particular topics or interests. To think about this question: how might you create the power of the team, and especially of the diversity? Fourthly, can I encourage you to share opportunities, to be generous, and where you can, to push down the ladder for the next generation to climb. To think about this question: how can you ensure that there is ongoing progress? Above all, can I encourage you to focus on going forward and further, on making things happen, and on being as ambitious as you can be in so doing. I hope that in your time here at Warwick you have been able to develop some key strengths. Of course, knowledge and experience. I hope confidence and problem-solving skills. Leadership and networks. Because Warwick's alumni are literally everywhere around the world, in more than 190 countries. During our January graduations, our 300,000 students graduated. It is not only your cohort who can be in your network, it is that wider alumni. So do stay in touch with, do contribute to, and do benefit from that alumni global community. Not just in an instrumental way, but in developing long-term relationships with us. Now to today's ceremony, which of course is incredibly important, but in essence, it is very simple. You sit here in one state, that of the graduate. And when your name is read and you cross the stage, you shall transform, as shortly we will hear, as if by magic, into a graduate. Can I encourage you to take your time? Don't rush. Do enjoy the applause and support from everyone in the hall and outside. You all have people here and outside and online who are really proud of you. I know that all your teaching and support staff, and all of us in the wider university, we're all really proud of you too. So it's time to begin. Will you please give the most enormous cheer as I declare this congregation open!
From the very top. You are expected, and we will all be delighting in huge rounds of applause all the way through. You'll see that the way we do these graduation ceremonies, it's not that an individual person comes up and has their moment. Oh yes, they have their moment, but the applause and the whooping and the cheering rolls on like a creeping barrage, a rolling thunder, and that is how we celebrate every single one of our graduates. There's a very important reason for that, is that we are a global university, and therefore not every single one of our graduates has friends, family and supporters in the room, but every single one of our graduates has friends, family and supporters watching online at home, so they all deserve the same level of cheering and whooping. So today you will process through the process of becoming a graduate of the University of Warwick. Let me explain a little bit how that happens. So I have the honour of reading out every single one of your degree titles, your magnificent achievements, and then I have the honour of reading out every single one of your names. Now, a word about the names. One of the glories of the University of Warwick is that we are a diverse team, as the Vice-Chancellor has said. So in this hall today, there's over 100 different countries, easily over 100 different countries. So that's 100 different languages, traditions, religions, and possibly 100 different ways in which I could mispronounce your names. I'd like to apologise for that in advance. I have had the support of the awesome academic staff at the University of Warwick and the entire linguistics department, but I still make mistakes. And I would like to offer my apology for that in advance. I would also like to say thank you to all of those graduates who took the trouble to write out a little phonetic guide as to how to pronounce your name. It was very useful indeed, and I thank you for that. For those graduates who decided to leave it entirely up to me how I pronounce your name, I say congratulations. That's the kind of courage that we need in the world today. We know that you will go out into the world after this day and you will make a name for yourself. It may not be the name I give you today, but we know that you will do it. So we gradually herd our wonderful graduates into this we call the adrenaline holding pen. And this will happen to you in order. And when you are there, the reason it's called the adrenaline holding pen is because I know from experience, that this is when the adrenaline kicks in and will start to make you think and do strange things. Now, you'll be worrying you'll be thinking of all of the things that could possibly go wrong. Well, let's brainstorm some of the things that could possibly go wrong. We think the main one that people worry about is the possibility of these academic gowns slipping down and the hats falling off. Well, the thing is that the hats are in a state of entropy and they want to fall off. So if it happens, just let them, because you've chosen the right university for many reasons, but also because we are the only university on the planet that has the tradition that if your academic hat falls to the ground during a celebration, you will still be a graduate of the University of Warwick, and you will get 7 years good luck in the job market and a huge round of applause while everyone laughs at you. So do not worry if that happens, it doesn't matter at all. We've checked the regulations. You'll still be a graduate of the University of Warwick if your hat falls off. In fact, it looks like if everything falls off, you'll still be a graduate of the University of Warwick, but please do not push that too far. So you're in this adrenaline holding pen here, and the top tip there is to whoop and cheer for all of your contemporaries as they cross the stage. That helps get the adrenaline out the way, and it also is quite enjoyable, which is the whole point of this. So you're there, you hear your name, or an approximation thereunto. And as soon as you hear your name, you stride with pride towards your Vice-Chancellor. And the thing is, as I said, this is a rolling thunder kind of applause, because you'll notice as soon as you start shaking the hand of the Vice-Chancellor, and if you don't want to shake a hand for any reason at all, that's absolutely fine, just keep your hand on your chest so he knows not to shake your hand. But you'll notice as soon as you're in that moment with your Vice-Chancellor, I'm reading out the next person's name. This does not mean that you should skedaddle off the stage because you're embarrassing. No. You enjoy your moment in the spotlight. And this also does not mean that if you hear your name, that you think that you have to wait until they're done because otherwise it would be rude if I started walking. No. The rule is, as soon as you hear your name, you stride with pride up the ramp towards your Vice-Chancellor. Do not worry about the rhythm. If anything goes wrong, it is my fault. And if you're up there while he's still shaking the hand of the previous person, just do not worry at all. Turn around and enjoy the spotlight and wave regally. There's one more very important thing that happens in that moment. Well, there's two things actually. One is that you get a degree magically conferred upon you by your Vice-Chancellor. If you don't believe in that little moment of magic, we also offer a paper copy of your degree that you can collect from that table as you leave the stage. And the other important thing that happens in that magical moment, standing with your Vice-Chancellor, is that you get a photograph of the event. Now, I think in 2025 we've all accepted that if there's no photo, it didn't happen. So, let's again practice and warm up for our whooping and our cheering and our applause as we locate and lock into our minds exactly where is the most important person in this room. Ladies and gentlemen, Roger, the photographer! He deserves that level of applause because he's a consummate professional, and every single one of our graduates here today deserves that level of applause. So, the only thing that can go wrong with the photograph is you not allowing yourself to give your best profile, and also you have to resist the temptation to get your smartphone out and get a selfie with the Vice-Chancellor. Yes, he has a very winning smile. Yes, he's very attractive, but do not put a smartphone in between you and Roger. Your grandmother will never forgive you. So, are you ready? Okay. Vice-Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present these graduates from the Faculty of Arts for the award of their degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I admit these candidates to their degrees.
To the degree of... Well, they've put that in wrong. Let's start again. From the Department of English and Comparative Literary Studies to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in English and Comparative Literary Studies, Rad Ke Allah! To the degree of Master of Arts in English and Drama, Megan Therese Recti. To the degree of Bachelor of Arts with Honours in English and History, Amy Victoria Berry. Eva Marie Broom. Harriet Louise Curry. Kira Helen Devine. Umalara Eke. Martha Gibbs. Eleanor Gwyneth Hopkins. Isabella Charlotte Litewska. Amy Georgina Lorimer. Gemma Robbins. Felicity Jane Ryan. Millie Isabel Sanders. In English and History with a term in Venice, Alicia Grace DeJohn. Dia Sengupta. Lauren Elizabeth Taylor. In English and History with Integrated Year, Thomas Durrant. Sophie Jane Poole. In English and Theatre Studies, Jennifer Anthea Baden. Joseph William Bartlett. Alexandra Beardwell. Lydia May Blatch. Anushay Dar. Seren Bethan Davis. Eleanor Charlotte Dickens. Eliana Doherty. Sophia Maria Donovan. Max Lionel John Fleming. Jasmine Fuller. Georgie Gibbons. Alexandra May Tatiana Goodcoat. Sophia Alyssa Hollingworth. Esme Rosa Elizabeth Jones. Ellen Alexandra Kendall. Hazel Juliet Mason. Daisy McLaughlin. Amelia Jane Thomas. Hayden Waller. Lily Mae Williams. Ruby Winard Rowe. Ryan Shaw. In English literature with integrated year, Isabella Dawn. And finally, for this section, imagine the adrenaline levels for Sebastian David Lowe. And that concludes our first presentation. Congratulations. Thank you for that level of enthusiasm all the way through. You can now allow the blood to gently go back into your fingers. Because now it is time to celebrate even more excellence in the world. The University of Warwick is awarding an honorary doctorate here today with you all as witness. And our tradition is, of course, that all recipients of awards must come up onto the stage and stand in the very centre of the stage, right in front of the Vice-Chancellor, whilst our orator sings their praises. And they have to stand there and take it. Now, it's a life lesson for all of us in here, and graduates especially. Sometimes the hardest thing in the world to do is to stand still and take compliments. The temptation is always to interrupt and say, no, it wasn't me. But sometimes you just have to stand there and listen while we tell you why we love you. So, I hereby invite Professor Rachel Mosley to present for an honorary degree, Tracy Chevalier.
Vice-Chancellor, it's a great pleasure to introduce this morning's honorary graduate, the internationally acclaimed novelist Tracy Chevalier. Tracy writes historical novels read and celebrated around the world. She achieved global recognition with Girl with a Pearl Earring, published in 1999, in which she created a character and a story for the unknown girl in Vermeer's 17th century painting. The novel has sold over 5 million copies, has been translated into 43 languages, and was made into a successful film starring Scarlett Johansson and Colin Firth. It speaks of the endlessly inquiring mind of a writer that Tracy says that when she looks at the girl in Vermeer's painting, she still wonders what she's thinking. In her subsequent 9 novels, she brought to life historical subjects including the Lady in the Unicorn tapestries of the late medieval period, the 19th century paleontologist Mary Anning, and most recently, 15th century glassmaking in Venice. Tracy's work has illuminated works of art and the labour and lives of women in history through carefully researched and evocatively written stories, imagining and narrativizing the complex intersections of gender, politics, power, and everyday life. In her writing, Tracy transports readers to another time and place, whether a canal-side house in 17th century Delft, a 19th century farm in Ohio, or a middle-class home in Edwardian London. Her work is based on meticulous research. For example, she learned how to quilt in preparation for writing about it in The Last Runaway. She went fossil hunting on the Jurassic Coast, following in Mary Anning's footsteps before writing Remarkable Creatures, and before sending her protagonist in a single thread on a walking holiday between Winchester and Salisbury cathedrals, she walked the route herself. Tracy consistently places women's stories at the forefront of her novels. Her retelling of Shakespeare's Othello, for instance, is done through Dee, the character based upon Desdemona. Her protagonists are often women living in eras where their roles were limited by social and economic constraints, and their stories show the impact of their creative labour, both in their lifetime and in their legacy. Their existence is memorialised in the endurance of a quilt, an embroidered cathedral cushion, in a necklace of handmade glass beads. The immediacy with which Tracy's work has portrayed women's historical experiences and the value of female creativity and artistry have resonated internationally and continue to inspire discussion and scholarship around questions of gender and representation in contemporary literature. Tracy has been a passionate advocate for literacy and creative writing. She has been a trustee of the British Library and is an ambassador for First Story, a charity that sends writers into schools to teach creative writing outside of the curriculum. She takes part in literary festivals around the world. A graduate of University of East Anglia's well-known creative writing programme, she is an inspiration to teachers, students and readers alike. Tracy has made a lasting impact on the literary world and the reading public, ensuring her place as a leading figure in contemporary historical fiction. She has won many awards and prizes and is a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature. We are delighted to add our own award today. Vice-Chancellor, in the name of the Senate, I present to you for admission to the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa, Tracy Chevalier.
By the authority of the Senate, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Mosley. And thank you to the University of Warwick for awarding me this honorary doctorate for my contribution to creative culture. It is a huge, huge honor. And thanks to the people who recommended me for this award. They know who they are, and I am very grateful. You're giving me this honorary doctorate for the work I've done since receiving my bachelor and master's degrees. And so it's a reminder to all of us, especially to you students today, that learning doesn't just take place on campus and in classrooms. It also happens out in the world that you're about to enter, and all through your lives. When I was graduating from university, as you all are today, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, except that it would involve books. I've been crazy about books since I was tiny. I read books for entertainment, to escape daily life, to exercise my imagination, to learn something new. Books are portals into other worlds. In our angry, antagonistic world today, books are safe places for us to explore others' perspectives and experiences. They teach us how to listen to someone without necessarily agreeing with them. I've been lucky to be able to make a living from writing novels, specifically historical novels. Now, you may not care too much about the past at the moment, because your thoughts are understandably full of your future. You're thinking, as I did long ago, what am I going to do with my life? I didn't really give history much thought until I was 30, so you're off the hook for a bit. When I began to wonder about my own family history, my father was born in a small town in Switzerland and the family emigrated to the United States when he was a boy, hence my accent, even though I've lived here 40 years. So I'm the daughter of an immigrant, and I'm an immigrant myself to the UK. I like to remind people of that when people start getting rude about immigrants. We come in all shapes and sizes and looks, and we bring variety and energy to this country. Now, maybe 30 is the magic age when you stop thinking about only the present and the future and start thinking about the past. That's a good thing to my mind. I look at it this way. If thinking of the present as a dot, one-dimensional, and thinking of the future as a line, two-dimensional, then thinking of the past takes it into the third dimension. In other words, it makes you a three-dimensional person, a more rounded, a more interesting person. To know what's gone on before you helps you to find your place in this big tapestry of human life. To finish, I'm not going to give you advice about graduating, because you're going to get a lot of that from everybody. What I'm going to do instead is apologize. We don't do enough of that these days. Certainly politicians don't apologize enough. But I'm going to apologize to you, graduating class. The world is a bit of a mess right now, and I'm sorry about that. Because we, the older generations, have failed you. We're handing you a world full of division and inequality and injustice, a world that is literally burning and flooding, a world that's unsafe. And now, we need you. We need you to be smarter than we've been. Smarter and more proactive and more compassionate. But I have a lot of faith in your generation because I can see you're paying attention and you care. And Warwick has given you the tools you will need to begin to fix this world. I have no doubt about that. And I am thanking you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm counting on you to go out and make this world a better place. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you to our orator, Professor Rachel Mosley, and also thank you to Dr. Tracy Chevalier. What a beautiful speech, and yes, it's not said often enough. Sorry about that, graduates and graduates of the University of Warwick, but we need that courage, as Dr. Chevalier said, we need that courage, and we ask for your forgiveness. So we now move on to our next presentation of graduates, and that exuberant applause And so just to practice that, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to thank all of the awesome academics on stage today. So there's two people who have been handing out and will be handing out your degrees to you from that magnificently upholstered purple table. So could I ask both Dr. Jane Webb and Professor Paulo de Medeiros to stand up and take the applause on behalf of all of the awesome academics at the University of Warwick. Richly deserved. So, on behalf of the Senate, I present these graduates from the faculties of Arts and Social Sciences for the award of their degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I admit these candidates to their degrees.
From the Department of Global Sustainable Development to the degree of Bachelor of Arts and Science with honours in Economic Studies and Global Sustainable Development, Lucy Amadi. Leah Baloa. Bila Viagos. William Briscoe. Sophie Elizabeth Brown. So Uwanari Sofitam Danagogo. Ayan Desai. Thomas Oliver Dickens. Deborah Iramidi Fatbene. Hedda Lovisa Potin. Eleanor Marie Anne Julia. Nandika Karunakaram. Rachel Poppy Large. Yang Lee. Michael Ryan McNicholas. Neha Ramesh. Jane Saha. Nikolai Binga Strumsaga. Maria Eduarda Suarez. Jacob Stanley. Veronika Stoicheva Ivanova. In Sociology and Global Sustainable Development, Declan Wei Heng Chan. Akshaya Varul Narasimhan. Sofia Francesca Nena. Kira Amanda Stifler. Zareen Tahir. In Sociology and Global Sustainable Development with Intercalated Year, Tessa Natasha Namudu Tiaba. In Theatre and Performance Studies and Global Sustainable Development, Man Wai Kelly Wu. From the Centre for Interdisciplinary Methodologies to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Interdisciplinary Studies, Jack Morgan Wilson. Xibin Zhao. To to the degree of Master of Philosophy in Interdisciplinary Studies, Ji Shu. To the degree of Master of Arts in Digital Media and Culture, Yin Wu. To the degree of Master of Science in Big Data and Digital Futures, Horma Etasham. Mariam Santiago Cueto. From the Department of Liberal Arts to the degree of Bachelor of Arts with Honours in Liberal Arts, Erin Braju. Ellery Megan Broom. Maria Inés Capella Flores de Guiparao. Charlotte Erica Brasher Dodd. Alice Ann Eastwood. Elena Africa Fox. Ruhani Khanna. Daniel Joshua Lebovitz. Krish Mantura. Krishna Raj Mangalam. Madalena Palato. Olua Demilade Behinto Alua Tokuta. In Liberal Arts with Integrated Year, Elizabeth Tugbalagan. Ellen May Potts. Ren Roberts. From the Institute for Employment Research to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Employment Research, Andrina Gandining. And finally, they've waited a long time for this. Ladies and gentlemen, Jia Kongshang! Our final presentation of graduates. Congratulations! So I think everybody has a degree who deserves one. Congratulations. And now we get a chance to hear from someone who was in your places just a few years ago. He got a BA in English Literature in 2008, and since then he has become, just like Madonna only has one name, he has become that interviewer guy. He's a writer, journalist, broadcaster, and one of the most heard movie critics in the world. He did 5 years at the Empire magazine, but he's now BBC Radio 1 in-house film critic and appears weekly on the Greg James Breakfast Show, and then he goes home with Vic, Katie and Jamie. His iPlayer interview series Movies with Ali Plum, there's a hint as to his name, sees him speaking to A-listers with numbers on YouTube hitting 10 million. Oh yes. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ali Plum.
Welcome, congratulations, and thank you to all of you. Sincerely, it is an honour and a privilege to be here in your company on one of the proudest days of your lives. But please allow me to introduce myself once again. My name is, perhaps unbelievably, Ali Plum. And again, perhaps unbelievably, my job sees me reviewing films on the radio and interviewing film stars on TV. I'm just going to pause there so we can all universally hate me for a moment, and then we'll move on. With that in mind, I'm well aware that I've not, say, spent 20 years studying the human genome, I've not got an OBE for services to charity, but I did ask Scarlett Johansson, her again, if she had any advice for you fine human beings here today. What should you do after graduating? Her answer: stay in university, get another degree. It's at this point I'd really like to hammer home the core message of my speech today. I am here because of good luck, occasional bouts of hard work, and mistakes. Many mistakes, some made by others, most handcrafted by me. But I really must insist that you make a wild and staggeringly vast array of your own as you step out into the blinding light of post-university reality. This is one of the key reasons I loved coming here to Warwick. The societies, particularly Raw and the Boar, salute. You guys gave me so much freedom to make mistakes over and over, be bad and get that tiny bit better, over and over and over. And this is no offense to you guys, I owe you my career. There is just such a vast, untapped well of potential rubbishness in all of us that needs to be let out. And Raw and the Boar let me do that. The hidden secret is that anyone who has gotten good at anything is that they've done so by repeatedly being terrible first and shedding that scaly, faily skin. Mistakes are inevitable, and mistakes are beautiful. They make the best life lessons, and they make the best stories. For example, my very first interview on camera ever, way back in 2000, went so badly wrong that the star in question, called Clive Owen, anyone heard of him? No. Saw me panicking, sweating profusely, and generally freaking out so badly that our Clive decided to put his fist inches up in front of my face and make this beating heart impression. I promise you this is true, and yes, I did die. But what did I learn? I learned that nothing could ever go as badly as that. So don't worry about any work, projects or meetings or further interviews going any worse in the future. But then that future came along and it proved me wrong. As it will prove you wrong time and again, trust me, years later, I was lucky enough to interview, ready for the name drops, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt. Let me just pick them up. I had spoken to Leo and Margot before, darling, but I'd never met Brad Pitt until that very moment, and so I walked into the room and shook their hands like a human being would. I said hello to Leo, I said hello to Margot, and then, as I made eye contact with somebody whose handsomeness I had not adequately prepared myself for, I shook Brad Pitt's hand, and my brain told my mouth to say the words, Brad Pitt. In front of Brad Pitt, as I was shaking the hands of Brad Pitt. Similarly, I once presented a bowl of crunchy nut cornflakes to Colin Farrell on the BAFTA red carpet as part of a tortured in-joke, and in the process, spilt milk on his Tom Ford dinner jacket. Thank you. I once chucked hot sauce at Florence Pugh. I once found myself in a conversational cul-de-sac with Olivia Colman, where I ended up showing her my most embarrassing dance move, I won't do it today, and we both imitated a pigeon. I did not set out to do any of those things, but I'm very glad they happened. And time after time, I have learned that the best anecdotes are those of your gaffes. You might sneak some humble brags in there along the way, as Clive Murray once told me after I won Mastermind. But the very best stories are the ones where you do something absurd or fall flat on your face. So please, very clever people assembled here today, forget your incredible education every so often and do something appallingly stupid. You know, for the anecdote, Warwick's incredible professors, tutors, have taught you how to improve yourself, give you knowledge, focusing on success and aptitude and hard work. And we thank all of them, truly. But only you can teach yourself failure. You need to learn it, and you need to learn it well. Only you can take that academic training and apply it to the unpreventable and glorious goofs that will come your way. All we are doing on this planet is trying to know ourselves, to know others, to improve ourselves, and improve the lives of others. That is it. That really is it. That, and I personally believe, tell a reasonably good story. I know this sounds obtuse, but life is made up of stories we tell. So please make them good ones, I beg of you. Do not allow yourself to not look foolish. Nothing matters as much as the voice inside your head says it does. Do not let yourself get wrapped up in the social media-fueled curse of constant comparison, of peer-on-peer review, of likes and shares, and artificial attention. This is all ultimately meaningless. In other words, be more stupid. Put yourself out there, take more risks, do things that scare you. Yes, I'd file all of that under be a bit more stupid, but also think that silly thought and express it. Something fun might happen. Don't be afraid to ask that eccentric, odd thing you might want. For example, I'm here at a graduation ceremony to celebrate all of you fine human beings, to remind you and your friends and your family to feel rightly so proud for all that you've accomplished. But I couldn't help but think this might be an opportunity for me to fulfill a personal dream of mine. So let me remind you that, again, preposterously, my surname is indeed Plum, and my actual, genuine, real name is Ali Plum. And I was joking with these highly esteemed people behind me here that traditionally, when you give a graduation speech, it's not uncommon for speakers like myself to be recognised or commended, so I thought I'd try my luck. Could I be made, I jokingly asked, a professor? Professor Plum? They said, yes, I said, you know, like in Cluedo. They paused. For longer than I expected. Not no was the eventual answer. So stupidly, wonderfully, Warwick has made another glorious mistake. And today I am giddy to tell you that I am now Professor Plum. For just today. But I am, for 24 hours, Professor Plum. I have a prop here that illustrates this insanity. I'm going to pop it on my robe. It says, in case you can't read it, University of Warwick's Professor Plum, all caps, for the day. All this for a Cluedo joke. What a stupid thing to ask. What a stupid thing to receive. What a wonderful thing to be able to tell my parents over Christmas dinner and to read out on Would I Lie to You, should they ever ask me on. This is a come and get me plea. I have been absurdly lucky. And I cannot be more grateful for this ridiculous life I lead. We are all grateful in this room, I know this. But please be grateful to everyone who's helped you get here today, and be grateful to yourself. You have achieved something extraordinary over the past few years through hard work, patience, talent, a bit of winging it, cramming, leaning on your friends, leaning on your family, leaning on your tutors, and yes, making mistakes, dusting yourself off, telling a funny story about it, and carrying on. Go do that. Go do more of all of that. I could remind you of 1,000 other more platitudes. Be yourself. Time will forgive you. Wear sunscreen. But after all of your success here at Warwick, you must remember this. Mistakes will be made. Do not fear them. Make them well, and make them often. Be lucky. Be loved. Look after yourselves and look after others. Enjoy success, enjoy failure. Appreciate what you have and appreciate those around you. But after years of being very, very clever indeed, please don't forget to be ever so slightly absurd here and there. Thank you all so much for letting me be part of your day today, and if you have any further questions, my office hours are between 2 and 4.
That, new graduates, is the quality of the kind of people you are joining in the University of Warwick Alumni Association. In your contact list now is Professor Ali Plum. Professor Plum, CBE, MBE, by the power vested in me by absolutely nobody. I give him any reward he likes, because that was a superb speech. No one else has ever stood up here and said, tell a good story and only you can make your mistakes. Be more stupid. We all needed to hear that, and also we all needed to hear all of the things that he has stupidly done wrong. What an idiot. Thank you for going through the cathartic process of telling us. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Plum! So, in a moment, our ceremony will be over, and after we hear the national anthem of the United Kingdom, we will see our choir sing the new Warwick anthem, which was also sung at the beginning of our ceremony today. And you will remember that during the first iteration of the Warwick anthem, you saw the academic procession come through those doors, led by the ceremonial mace, and arrayed themselves on stage. When you hear it again, we will process off the stage and through those doors. And we have one tradition that we'd like to stick to, which is the first group of people to follow the formal academic procession today will be, of course, our new wonderful graduates. And after our new wonderful graduates will come all of the people who have made it possible for you to be here today. And we thank each and every one of you for that. And then you can all meet outside and get your photos. Now, I don't know if you heard the thunder going on, so that may mean that there may be some changes, but the ushers will tell you exactly where to go. But Arts Foyer for collecting those photos from Roger the photographer, generation after that. So, as our Vice-Chancellor challenged us at the beginning, let's push the ladder down for the next generation. Let us know how we can improve. But to close our degree ceremony today, please express all of our thanks to the Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of Warwick!
Thank you all, thank you. And thank you all so much for being with us today for this extraordinary ceremony. I really hope you've enjoyed it. But I'm afraid, to ask you for one more piece of help. You see, we need a piece of symmetry now. At the beginning of the ceremony, we had a huge roar of applause for our graduands. But our graduands are now graduates. So, please, can I ask you all, one last time, for an enormous round of applause for our magnificent graduates! Thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. But now I must declare our congregation closed. And could I ask you please to rise for the national anthem? Thank you all.
birthday.